At 1:47 in the morning, Professor Valentina Sorel stood between me and the only exit of her private studio, removed the silver hairpin holding her dark bun, and said, "Stop looking for the art, Dahlia. I'm right here." The room smelled of oil paint, rain, and perfume that had warmed on her skin for hours. My camera sat on the long table behind us, lens cap on, silent for once. Around it were brushes, stained cloths, half-finished sketches, and a chipped cup of tea she had made for me without asking whether I wanted it. I did. That was the problem. Valentina's hair fell past her shoulders, black and heavy, ruining the severe lines she had worn all night. Without the pin, she looked less like the woman who had corrected every lamp in the studio with impossible patience, and more like the woman beneath the discipline, the one the paintings had been trying to confess. Her white silk shirt was creased now. The sleeves were rolled to her elbows. There was ultramarine paint on her wrist, a thumbprint of crimson near her collar, and a little line of charcoal at the side of her neck that I had wanted to touch for the last 20 minutes. I had not touched it. Not yet. "You were hired to document 12 exhibition pieces," she said. "Yes." "Then why is your camera off?" "Because you told me to stop photographing the canvas." And look at you instead." The rain hit the tall studio windows harder, as if the city outside had started listening. Valentina stepped closer. Not enough to touch. Never carelessly, never by accident. She moved like a woman who had spent years teaching other adults that every line, every shadow, every blank space meant something. "Do you know what happens to artists who look at me like that?" she asked. "I'm not one of your artists." "No," she said quietly. "You're something worse." "What?" "A witness." The word moved through the room slowly. I should have smiled. I should have reached for the camera and made the moment professional again. That was what I did when a private room became too warm, when the woman in front of me stopped pretending she had hired me only for the work. But Valentina Sorel was standing there with her hair undone, her silver pin in her hand, and her eyes on my mouth. So I said the one thing I should not have said. "Then witness me." Her breath changed. Not much. Enough. And that was when I understood the public version of this story would end long before the real one did. But I should start earlier, because 4 hours before that, I still thought this was only another job. Vittoria called at 9:47 p.m. I was on my apartment floor with 3 dead batteries, a camera strap twisted around my ankle, and a contact sheet from Milan I had been pretending to hate because the alternative was admitting I missed the woman in it. My phone lit up. Vittoria. When Vittoria called after 9, it meant a wealthy woman had decided she wanted something private, urgent, and not entirely innocent. I answered with, "Who panicked?" "An art professor." That narrows nothing. A private art professor. Advanced instruction. Adults only. Very expensive. Very difficult. Very good at making grown women feel like first drafts. I leaned back against the sofa. Sounds charming. She has dismissed 3 photographers this month. 3? One cried. One called her impossible. One left without packing his light stands. I'm starting to like her. You would? I could hear the soft scratch of Vittoria lighting a cigarette. She always did that before delivering the useful part. Her name is Valentina Sorel. I knew the name. Everyone who worked near money, women, and art knew the name eventually. Valentina Sorel painted portraits that did not flatter. She taught private courses at the Voss Institute, not the kind with teenagers and grades, but the kind where adult collectors, painters, patrons, and women with too much money paid to be told the truth about what they were hiding on canvas. Her own work sold quietly and expensively. No spectacle, no public pleading, no interviews unless she could make the journalist regret asking for one. What does she need photographed? I asked. 12 paintings for a gallery exhibition. Archival images by morning. Why tonight? She only works after midnight. Of course she does. And she asked for you specifically. I stopped winding the camera strap around my hand. She knows me. She saw the Elena Castellani private editorial. I went still. That work had never been public. The fashion house had used the clean set. The real images, the fitting room ones, were supposed to live only in a few private archives, and in one locked folder I did not name honestly. She saw those? She knows people who collect things they pretend not to collect. Wonderful. She said you photograph women like you're gathering evidence of something they haven't admitted yet. That sounds like an accusation. With Valentina, everything sounds like an accusation. I stood and reached for my bag. Vittoria's tone changed. Dahlia. That was the warning tone. I paused. What? She does not want to be desired. She wants to be contradicted. That sounds worse. It is. Also, be careful with the word teacher. She teaches adults. Yes, but the internet is full of idiots and platforms are worse. She is a private art professor. Adult students, professional setting. Make that clear in anything you publish. I wasn't planning on publishing myself being murdered by a painter. She won't murder you? Reassuring. She might make you wish you had behaved. I smiled despite myself. Text me the address. The Voss Institute occupied the top floor of a converted warehouse in the arts district, above a closed bookshop and beside a florist that looked expensive enough to sell grief by arrangement. By day, the building probably looked industrial and chic. At 10:34 p.m., with rain turning the street black and silver, it looked like a place where secrets went to dry. I climbed a narrow metal staircase that complained under every step. The air smelled of wet stone, paper, and paint. At the top was a black door with no sign, only a brass number and a strip of warm light beneath it. I raised my hand to knock. The door opened before my knuckles touched wood. Valentina Sorel stood in the frame. She was in her early 40s, with dark hair pulled back so tightly it sharpened everything: cheekbones, jaw, eyes, especially the eyes. Gray, almost blue in the low light, and patient in the way knives are patient. She wore black trousers and a white silk shirt rolled to the elbows, bare feet, one silver hairpin at the back of her head, elegant and severe, like the final pin holding the whole woman together. She looked first at my camera bag, then at my face. "You're late." I was told 10:30. It is 10:34. "You count beautifully." Her eyes narrowed. For a second, I thought Vittoria had sent me to my professional death. Then Valentina stepped back. "Enter Miss Voss." "Dahlia, I know what Vittoria calls you. I prefer what I call myself." She looked at me again, longer this time. "Good," she said. "I dislike women who arrive already translated." The studio behind her was enormous. High ceilings, exposed brick, tall windows black with rain. Canvases leaned against walls like witnesses refusing to testify. There were plaster casts covered in white sheets, wooden easels, a long table crowded with brushes and paint knives, and lamps placed in pools of gold that made the darkness look deliberate. At the center stood 12 large canvases arranged for documentation. Women, all women, some seated, some standing, one turned away, one looking directly out of the canvas with an expression so quiet it almost hurt. None of them smiled. All of them seemed to know something about me before I had done anything to deserve it. Valentina watched me look. "Do not flatter them." I wasn't planning to. Good. Flattery makes the dead part of a painting louder. That's a cheerful opening note. I am not paid for cheer. What are you paid for? To tell people where they are lying. I looked at the 12 paintings again. "And your paintings?" A small pause. "They tell me where I am." It was too honest for 10 minutes into a job. She seemed to know that too, because the wall came down immediately. "Begin with the first canvas, no flash, no moving lights without asking, no dramatic angles, no attempt to make the work more beautiful than it is." Should I breathe silently as well? Her mouth did not smile, but something very close to amusement passed near it. "Vittoria warned me you were difficult." She undersold me. Did she? She said I was discreet. She forgot honest. Honesty is expensive here. What does it cost? Valentina walked to the first painting and stood beside it, hands loosely folded, bare feet silent on the old floor. "Usually," she said, "the comfort of the person paying." I lifted the camera. "Then I'll try to be gentle." "Don't," she said. The word came fast, sharper than the rest. Gentle ruins everything. For the first hour, we worked in silence. Not because there was nothing to say, because Valentina made silence feel like a test. She moved through the studio with unnerving precision. She adjusted lamps by inches. She lifted cloths from frames, then folded them with impossible care. She stood behind me while I checked the screen, close enough to see every detail but never close enough to brush me by accident. Everything about her said control, and everything about the paintings said control had failed her years ago. The first portrait was of a woman in a blue coat, standing in front of a window with one hand hidden behind her back. I photographed it cleanly. Valentina looked at the screen. No. What's wrong? You photographed what she is wearing. The coat is half the painting. The coat is the excuse. I looked again. The woman's mouth was slightly open. Her eyes were turned toward the window, but her body angled back towards someone we could not see. The hidden hand was not hidden casually. It was holding something, or wanting to. I adjusted the light, not brighter, lower. The shadow deepened near her throat. I shot again. Valentina looked. She said nothing. That was how she praised, by allowing the room to continue. The second painting was of a woman at a piano, hands resting in her lap instead of on the keys. Former lover? I asked. The studio went still. Valentina turned her head slowly. That sounded personal. It was compositional. You think desire affects composition? I think it affects everything. Her eyes moved over my face. Careful. With the question? With the answer you want. I lifted the camera before she could see that the line had landed. The third painting was of a woman asleep on a green sofa, one arm hanging over the side, fingers almost touching the floor. The brushwork around the hand was loose, tender, almost unfinished. You paint hands like apologies, I said. Valentina stood behind me. Do I? Yes. Then photograph the apology. So I did. By the fourth painting, I had stopped pretending the job was ordinary. By the fifth, Valentina had stopped pretending she was only supervising. By the sixth, she knew exactly when I was about to change the angle before I moved. By the seventh, everything changed. The seventh painting stood a little apart from the others, near the red door at the back of the studio. It showed a woman reclining on a velvet chaise, fully clothed, hair loose, one hand at the base of her throat, the other resting on the cushion beside her. She looked as if someone had just said her name in a way that made denial impossible. The brushwork around her neck was different, softer, less controlled, almost trembling. Valentina stood 10 feet away from it, not 6 inches, not 2 feet, 10. You don't like this one, I said. I don't like how you're photographing it. I haven't photographed it yet. You looked at it incorrectly. I lowered the camera and glanced at her. That is the most painterly insult I've ever received. She is not available, Valentina said. I looked back at the canvas. The woman on the chaise was not inviting, that was true. But she was not refusing either. She looked caught at the exact second when a woman decides whether she is tired enough of control to let wanting be visible. Who is she? I asked. None of your concern. She's in the exhibition. She is in the room. That's not the same answer. Valentina's hand went to the back of her head, to the silver hairpin, a nervous gesture, the first one I had seen. Because I couldn't keep her out, she said quietly. Then she seemed to hear herself. The wall came down so quickly, it almost made sound. Continue with the next canvas. I did not move. Instead, I adjusted the lamp. Valentina noticed immediately. I told you not to move the lights without asking. I'm asking retroactively. That is not asking. No, her eyes flashed, but she did not stop me. I softened the light over the seventh painting. Not romantic, not pretty, just less punishing. Memory has its own lighting. It never comes straight from above. I raised the camera. This time, I photographed the woman not as an object on display, but as someone being remembered by a person who regretted surviving the remembering. The shutter clicked. Valentina came closer. Too close. She looked at the screen over my shoulder. I felt her breath near my hair, cedar and iris, and something warmer beneath both. Better, she said. Not kindly, just true. Then, quieter. Don't do that again unless I ask. What? Make something less lonely without permission. The words were almost a confession. Almost. That word would follow us all night. At 11:58 p.m., the rain became violent. The windows blurred. Water slid down the glass in silver sheets. The city outside disappeared, leaving only the studio, the paintings, and the woman who had somehow made refusing softness into a style. Valentina made tea in a chipped ceramic pot. She placed a cup beside me without asking. I picked it up. Is this a peace offering? No. A warning? Practice. For what? She looked at the seventh painting. For admitting when something is working. That almost made me smile. Almost. We stood side by side at the long table, watching steam rise between us. Who comes here? I asked. Collectors, painters, women with money, women with wounds, sometimes women who do not yet know which one is driving the other. You teach them. I tell them the truth until they either leave or become interesting. And do they obey? Usually. Do you like that? Her eyes moved to mine. The question had touched the air differently than I intended. Or maybe exactly as I intended. I like when people stop wasting my time, she said. That wasn't what I asked. No, she said. It wasn't. The rain kept speaking for us. I set the cup down. You paint control beautifully, I said. But you teach adults to stop lying in their work. Do you lie in yours? The cup stopped halfway to her mouth. Careful, Miss Voss. Dahlia. Careful, Dahlia. You keep saying that like you want me to stop. And if I do? I met her eyes. Then say it like you mean it. Something changed. Not outside her, inside. Recognition, maybe. Or the kind of irritation that only appears when another woman refuses to move where you put her. Valentina set her cup down. Come. She walked to the red door at the back of the studio. Until then, I had pretended not to notice it too often. It was impossible not to. It was painted a deep red, not bright, not theatrical. A dark, dry red, the color of old wine, old lipstick, old warning. Valentina unlocked it with a key from her pocket. I did not ask where the key had been. I only followed. The room beyond was smaller, warmer, more private. No exhibition lighting, no clean arrangement for a catalog, no space meant for collectors to stand with champagne and say expensive things they did not believe. This was not where Valentina showed the work. This was where the work looked back. Drawings covered the walls from floor to ceiling. Charcoal studies of hands, mouths, necks, women sleeping, women turning away, women looking directly at the artist as if they knew exactly what she wanted and would not make it easy. There were canvases turned toward the wall, a single low lamp, a narrow sofa, and a wooden stool placed under the light. At the center of the back wall, under a linen cloth, was one large canvas. Valentina stood beneath it. This room is not part of the exhibition. I figured. No one photographs this room. Then why am I holding a camera? She turned. The light caught the side of her face and made her look younger, more tired, more dangerous because of both. Because I am tired of being the only witness to my own life. That line moved through me like a current. I lowered the camera. Show me the one that scares you. Valentina went still. I didn't say anything scares me. You didn't have to. For a long moment, she did not move. Then she walked to the covered canvas and pulled the linen away. The painting beneath showed Valentina herself, not the professor, not the elegant woman in white silk who corrected light and language as if both had personally failed her. This was Valentina sitting on the edge of an unmade bed in a black slip, hair down, knees angled slightly away, one hand gripping the sheet beside her. She was looking at someone just outside the frame with an expression so open it looked like injury. She had painted herself wanting. No metaphor could rescue it. No theory could make it safer. I took one step closer. Who was supposed to see this? I asked. No one. Then why paint it? Valentina's gaze remained on the canvas. Because not painting it was killing me slower. My hand tightened around the camera strap. The room seemed to settle around her answer. What happened? No. It was not sharp. That made it worse. It was a door closing softly. All right, I said. She looked at me then. Just like that? You said no. Most people try to earn the answer anyway. Most people confuse access with intimacy. Her face changed. For a moment, the woman in the painting and the woman beside it seemed almost the same person. Then she nodded once. Photograph the painting. I did, but every frame failed. Too formal, too respectful, too careful. Valentina watched the screen beside me. No, I know. You're photographing it like evidence, isn't it? No. What is it? She stepped behind me. Her body did not touch mine, but the space between us disappeared. She reached around me, one hand near the lens, the other lightly over my wrist. Desire, she said. The word landed almost against my ear. I forgot for half a second how to breathe. She noticed. Of course she did. You are very composed for someone who photographs women falling apart. I'm working. No. Her fingers tightened over my wrist. You are hiding behind work. I turned my head. Mistake. Her face was inches from mine, close enough for me to see the faint smudge of crimson near her collar, close enough for her eyes to drop once, quickly, to my mouth. You invited me in here, I said. I did. You asked me to look. I did. Then don't punish me for seeing you. Her breath changed, quiet, sharp, a little broken. Then she stepped back, not far, just enough to survive the moment. Again, she said. This time I did not photograph the painting. I photographed her looking at it. Click. Valentina turned slowly. What did you just do? What the room needed. You were not asked to photograph me. No, you did it anyway. Yes. Anger came first, then something beneath it, something like relief. Show me. I hesitated. Valentina, show me. I did. On the camera screen, she stood beside the painting of herself, face unguarded, hair still pinned but beginning to loosen, one hand half lifted as if she had almost reached for the woman on the canvas and stopped herself in time. She did not look cold. She looked caught. For a long time, Valentina did not move. Then she whispered, "Delete it." I looked at her. No. Her eyes lifted. The room sharpened. Excuse me. No. You work for me tonight. I work for the truth of the image. That is a pretty sentence. It is also why you asked for me. She took one step closer. You are very arrogant. Sometimes. And if I insist, then I'll delete it. You just said no. I said no because you didn't mean it. And now I'm telling you that if you truly want it gone, I'll remove it. Valentina stared at me. The lamp hummed above us. Rain hit the far windows in the main studio. Finally, she said, "You are unbearable. I've been told. By women, usually." For the first time that night, Valentina smiled. Real, brief, devastating. Then she looked at the image again. Do not delete it. The next hour did not feel like work. Not exactly. Valentina moved through the red room and began taking down drawings. She leaned them against chairs, placed them on the sofa, rearranged sketches in a sequence only she understood. I photographed them, but really, I photographed her relationship to the things she had hidden. Her hand hovering over the edge of the canvas as if touching it might return something to her. Her jaw tightening when she held a charcoal study of a mouth. Her eyes closing when I asked her to stand beside a drawing of two hands almost touching. What was her name? I asked eventually. Valentina was pinning a small sketch to the wall. She did not look at me. Leonora. The name cost her. I could hear it. Model? No. Artist? Art historian. Lover? Valentina's hand stilled. Yes. No ornament, no correction. Just yes. It sounded less like an answer than a wound finally allowed to have its own name. She saw the painting, I asked. No. You never showed her? No. Why? Valentina laughed once under her breath, humorless. Because she would have understood. And that would have been worse? She had a husband, a reputation, a daughter, an entire life built on being admired correctly. Valentina touched the corner of the sketch. I was the room she entered when she wanted to stop being correct. The sentence settled between us. Did she love you? Yes. Did she leave? Yes. And you kept painting her. Valentina looked toward the covered self-portrait. I kept painting what she made possible. What was that? Her eyes met mine. A woman who wanted. For a while, I did not take any photographs. Some silences are part of the work. When I finally lifted the camera again, Valentina did not object. At 1:12 a.m., she stood in front of a blank canvas. Sit, she said. I looked up. Excuse me? There. She pointed to the wooden stool under the lamp. I'm not the model. No. Her gaze moved over me with unsettling precision. You are the interruption. That's not flattering. It wasn't meant to be. I came here to photograph your work. And now, my work is looking back at me with a camera around her neck. Sit. There it was again. That command, not loud, not aggressive, just certain enough to make resistance feel like a performance. I should have refused. Instead, I sat. Valentina took a stick of charcoal from the table. The studio light caught her profile as she studied me. Not my body, my posture, my defenses. The way my camera rested in my lap like a shield I could pretend was a tool. Put the camera down, she said. No. Her eyes lifted. No. It stays with me. Her mouth curved. Very well. Keep your shield. She began to draw. The sound of charcoal on canvas filled the room. Soft, dry, intimate. I had photographed hundreds of women. I had watched them pose, resist, command, surrender, rebuild. I had been paid to look with precision and leave with clean files. But being looked at was different. Being looked at by Valentina was worse. She did not admire. She extracted. After 10 minutes, I said, You're staring. I'm drawing. You draw like an interrogation. You photograph like a confession. Maybe that's why Vittoria thought we'd survive each other. Her hand paused. Survive. Was I wrong? She studied me. No. Then she walked toward me, charcoal still in her hand. Your face is wrong. That feels personal. It is. She stopped in front of me and placed 2 fingers beneath my chin. There it was. The moment from the beginning. Stop looking for the art, Dahlia, she said. I'm right here. I looked at her. That was my mistake. Because up close, Valentina Sorel was not cold. She was controlled heat. And for the first time that night, I understood why all her portraits looked like women trying not to confess. She painted them at the moment before surrender. Her thumb brushed a faint line of charcoal near my jaw. "You hide your fear behind calm," she said. "You hide yours behind authority." Yes, the honesty startled me. She did not move her hand. "Do I frighten you?" she asked. "No. Lie better." I swallowed. Her eyes followed the movement. "Not the way you mean," I said. "What way do I mean?" "The way people fear cruelty." "And how do you fear me?" I looked at her mouth, then back to her eyes. Like something I might want to understand too much. Valentina's face changed, very slowly, like a locked door deciding it was tired of being useful. "Dahlia." My name in her voice was no longer professional, not entirely. The charcoal slipped from her fingers onto the floor. Neither of us picked it up. She did not kiss me. That matters. She wanted to. I wanted her to. The whole room knew it. The unfinished portraits knew it. Leonora's painted mouth seemed to know it. But Valentina did not kiss me. Instead, she stepped back, pressed one hand briefly to her own chest, as if reminding herself where the boundary was, and said, "Photograph the drawing." I stood. My legs felt less certain than I wanted them to. The drawing on the canvas was only half finished. Me on the stool, camera in my lap, face lifted, eyes caught. Not beautiful, not flattering, recognizable in a way that made me want to look away. "You made me look exposed," I said. "You were." I didn't agree to that. Something softened near her eyes. "No," she said. "You didn't." She reached for the canvas. "I'll destroy it." "No." Her hand stopped. This time, she was the one looking at me. "No, don't." "Why?" "Because it was mine. Because it was hers. Because it was the first time all night she had looked at someone living instead of someone lost." I did not say all that. I said, "Because it tells the truth of the room." Valentina closed her eyes briefly. When she opened them, the professor was still there, but so was the woman, the one who had loved Leonora, the one who had built a career teaching adults to stop lying in paint while lying to herself for years, the one who had invited me into a locked room and called it work. "It cannot be in the exhibition," she said. "I know." "It cannot be photographed for the catalog." "I know." "It cannot leave this room." I picked up my camera. "Then let me keep one frame." Her eyes held mine. "And where would you keep it?" I thought of all the private files I never named properly, the ones that were not quite jobs, not quite memories, not quite confessions. "My dark room," I said. Valentina understood the word the way I meant it. The air changed again. Private. That word always appeared at the edge of these nights. Private room, private frame, private want, private version. Valentina stepped closer. Then take it. So I did. When we returned to the main studio, the rain had stopped, but neither of us seemed ready for the night to end. Valentina reviewed the exhibition files with less cruelty than before, still precise, still impossible, but not armored in quite the same way. She chose 12 official images, then 3 from the Red Room, not of her self-portrait, not yet, but details. A hand, a brush, the edge of the bed in the painting, the silver hairpin lying on the table. Enough to suggest the room exists, I said. Enough to make them ask why it was hidden. That will cause trouble. Yes. You sound pleased. She looked at me. I sound awake. It was the closest thing to joy I had heard from her. By 4:10 a.m., the studio had gone pale at the windows. Morning had not arrived fully. It was waiting outside the glass with its paperwork and noise and people who would never understand what a room could become after midnight. I expected to leave then. I had the files, the official ones at least. The night had already given me more than the job required and more than good sense allowed. Then the downstairs buzzer rang. Valentina's face changed immediately. Not fear, annoyance, sharpened by recognition. Who comes here at 4 in the morning? I asked. Someone who thinks access is the same thing as intimacy. I could have repeated my own line back to her. I didn't. Valentina crossed the studio and pressed the intercom. A woman's voice came through, bright and smooth. Valentina, I saw the lights. Valentina closed her eyes. Seraphine. The name landed with history inside it. A few minutes later, Seraphine Morrow entered the studio without waiting to be properly invited. She was in her late 30s, dressed in a long camel coat over a black dress, hair pale and perfectly cut at her jaw. She looked like a woman who collected artists, not because she loved art, but because artists made excellent mirrors. Her eyes moved over Valentina first, then me, then my camera bag. Well, she said, Vittoria sent you someone pretty this time. Valentina's voice went cold enough to change the room. Dahlia Voss is the photographer? Seraphine smiled. I assumed. She walked to the nearest canvas, not touching it, but close enough to make Valentina's jaw tighten. I came to see if you had finally approved the catalog images. At 4 in the morning, I was at a dinner 2 blocks away. Then you should have gone home. I wanted to see you. That sentence was aimed at Valentina, but her eyes flicked toward me before it landed. So that was the shape of it. Not exactly an ex, not exactly only a gallerist. Something in that expensive, uncomfortable space between patron, friend, almost lover, and woman who had once been allowed too far into the room. Seraphine moved toward the 7th painting. Valentina stepped into her path. No. The word was quiet, final. Seraphine laughed softly. Still that one. I said no. Darling, your refusal would carry more mystery if everyone in the city didn't already know you paint women you shouldn't. The air changed. My hand shifted toward the camera by instinct. Valentina did not look at me. "Leave," she said. Seraphine's smile thinned. "Careful. I'm the reason the red room has a wall to hang on." "Then I'll hang it somewhere else." I watched the line hit Seraphine. Then Seraphine looked at me again. "You must be good." "I am." She blinked, then laughed once, surprised. Valentina's mouth almost moved. Not a smile. Something worse. Pride. Seraphine saw it too. Her face cooled. "Be careful with her, Miss Voss. Valentina has a talent for making women believe they are the first to see the truth." Valentina turned then. "Do not use my past to perform wisdom." For the first time, Seraphine looked genuinely hurt. Only a flash, but real. Then she gathered herself. "The preview is in 6 weeks," she said. "Collectors want the work. The gallery wants drama. I can sell restraint. I can sell mystery. I cannot sell a private mythology if you keep hiding the best part." Valentina's eyes went to the red door. Seraphine noticed. So did I. "What's in there?" she asked. "No." Seraphine's smile returned. "You always say that before the interesting thing." Valentina stepped closer. "Leave." This time, Seraphine listened. At the door, she paused. "Send the files by noon." "And Valentina?" Valentina did not answer. Seraphine looked at me. "Do not confuse being invited into the studio with being invited into her life." Then she left. The door closed behind her. The room held its breath. Valentina stood still for a long time. I did not speak first. She would have punished pity. Eventually, she said, "She is not wrong about everything." "That doesn't make her kind." "No." "Was she someone?" Valentina laughed softly. "No one is just someone in a room like this." I waited. She turned toward the windows. Seraphine found my work when galleries still called it too severe. She gave me walls, introduced me to collectors, bought the first painting in the red room before she knew the room existed. "Did you love her?" "No." That answer came quickly. Then, after a pause, "I let her want me because it was easier than wanting someone back." There it was again. The truth underneath the style. I walked to the long table and rested my hand near the camera. Not on it, near. "Valentina." She turned. "You don't owe me explanations." "No," she said, "but I dislike being misunderstood by women. I want to understand me." The sentence was simple. Not dressed up. That made it more dangerous. I felt it in my throat. "Do you?" "What?" "Want me to understand you?" Her gaze held mine. "Yes." By then, the sun had begun to thin the window's blue. We should have stopped. Instead, she walked to the red room again. This time, she left the door open. "Come here," she said. I followed. Inside, the drawings looked different after Seraphine. Less like secrets, more like evidence that privacy is sometimes a form of survival. Valentina stopped in front of the unfinished drawing of me. It was still on the easel. She looked at it for a long time. Then she said, "I should not have drawn you." "Why?" "Because now the room knows you." The answer moved through me with a strange tenderness. I stood beside her. "Is that bad?" "It depends whether you leave." I looked at her profile, the undone strand near her cheek, the paint at her wrist, the woman who had spent the night refusing comfort and then making me tea. "I always leave," I said. "I know." "I mean, because that's the job." "I know." "Valentina." She closed her eyes. "I am not asking you to stay." But her voice did not agree. I wanted to touch her then, not the way the room seemed to expect, not dramatic, not inevitable, just my fingers near the charcoal at her neck, the smallest proof that I had seen it. Instead, I said, "The exhibition opens in 6 weeks." Her eyes opened. "Yes, you said there's a private viewing." "There is." "Invite me properly." The corner of her mouth moved. "You are very demanding for someone who pretends to observe. And you are very indirect for someone who likes obedience." That one almost made her laugh. Almost. "Dahlia Voss," she said, "will you attend the private viewing of my exhibition 6 weeks from tonight?" "As the photographer?" "No." "As what?" Valentina looked at my mouth, then back at my eyes. "As the woman who knows where the red door is." I should have answered lightly. I did not. "Yes." Her breath eased, barely. We returned to the main studio, and this time, when I packed my camera, neither of us pretended it was only equipment moving into a bag. At the door, she handed me a small envelope. I looked at it. "What's this?" "Your invoice will go through Vittoria." "That's not what I asked." "No." I opened the envelope. Inside was a small charcoal study, not the one from the red room. A quick sketch. My hands holding the camera. Only my hands. But she had drawn them with impossible tenderness. On the back, in black ink, she had written, "For the photographer who does not know when she is being seen." I looked up. Valentina stood there in her wrinkled white shirt, paint still on her wrist, eyes less armored than before, and somehow more dangerous because of it. "You really are arrogant," I said softly. "Yes." "And dangerous." "Yes." "And impossible." "Professionally." I smiled. She almost did. Then her gaze dropped to my mouth. Only for a second. Long enough. "Dahlia," she said. "Yes." "If Vittoria asks whether the job was difficult, I'll say yes." "And if she asks whether I behaved?" I looked at the red door behind her, then back at her eyes. "I'll say not enough." Valentina's mouth curved. Real, brief, devastating. Then she let me go. For the next 6 weeks, Valentina Sorel existed in my life as 3 things: a folder of images, a charcoal sketch in my nightstand, and a silence I checked my phone for like a fool. She did not message me, not once. Vittoria did. 3 days after the shoot, she sent a single line. "You survived." I replied, "Professionally." She wrote back, "That means no." I did not answer. A week later, the gallery posted the first exhibition announcement. Valentina's name appeared in black letters on a white background. The title was simple: Women Who Do Not Ask. Below it was one of my photographs. Not the seventh painting, not the red room. A clean, official image of the first portrait. Beautiful, controlled, perfectly safe. It looked exactly like the public version of the night. I hated it for doing its job so well. 2 weeks after that, I saw Seraphine Morrow at a reception I had been hired to photograph for someone else. She found me near a column, holding champagne I had no intention of drinking. "Miss Voss." "Miss Morrow." "Dahlia, isn't it?" "If you're trying to make me like you, yes." She smiled. "I'm not." Refreshing. Her gaze moved to my camera. "Valentina approved your images." I heard. She approved more than I expected. Maybe the work deserved it. Maybe you did. I said nothing. Seraphine took a sip of champagne. "She has not shown anyone the private room." I didn't ask. "No." Her eyes sharpened. "That is why I'm curious." "About?" "Whether you understand the difference between being desired by Valentina and being trusted by her." The words annoyed me because they were too close to useful. "I don't think those are separate things for her," I said. Seraphine studied me. Then, unexpectedly, she laughed, softly. "Vittoria was right." "About what?" "Your trouble with a camera." "No, I'm a camera with excellent judgment." "Then use it." She turned to leave, then paused. "At the preview, collectors will ask about the seventh painting. They always do. Don't let her turn it into technique." "Why are you telling me this?" Seraphine's face shifted. For once, the polish thinned. "Because I once mistook standing near her for being let in. If she lets you in, do not make the error of staying outside to be polite." Then she walked away. I stood there with the champagne untouched in my hand and thought about Valentina behind a red door, painting, wanting into silence. By week 4, the city had grown warmer. By week 5, I had stopped pretending I did not know the date of the preview. By the day before it, I had taken the charcoal sketch out of my nightstand 3 times and put it back each time as if it had done something wrong. At 11:06 p.m., Vittoria called. "Do you have something to wear?" "For what?" "Do not insult me. Valentina's private preview is tomorrow." "I have clothes." "You have black shirts and emotional problems." "That is a wardrobe." "You need something that says you are there because you belong, and also because someone dangerous might take you into a back room." "Vittoria." "What?" "This is branding." I laughed despite myself. Her voice softened. She has not been easy, has she? She has not been present. That is also a way of being difficult. I sat on the edge of my bed. Do you think she meant it? The invitation? Yes. Vittoria was quiet for a moment. Then she said, Valentina Sorel does not give people doors by accident. The next night, the gallery was full of women pretending they were there only for the paintings, collectors with white wine, critics with sharp glasses, artists in black, women in silk, women in suits, women who stood too close to canvases and said things like absence and discipline because desire made them nervous. Valentina stood near the center of the room in black. Not a dress, not a suit exactly, something between the two. Severe, elegant, open at the throat just enough to look deliberate. Her hair was pinned with the silver pin. Perfect again. That should have disappointed me. It didn't. Because when her eyes found mine across the room, the perfection slipped for half a second. Only I saw it. Or maybe I needed to believe that. Seraphine was beside her, saying something to a collector. Valentina nodded, composed, but her gaze stayed on me one heartbeat too long. I did not go to her immediately. That felt important. I moved through the room and looked at the paintings as the public would see them. They were stunning. Even clean, even curated, even with the red room hidden behind implication. They had gravity. Women turned away and toward themselves. Hands rested in laps. Mouths held words. Bodies withheld easy explanations. And there, near the back wall, hung the seventh painting, the woman on the velvet chaise. The lighting was not mine exactly, but it remembered me. I stood in front of it for a long time. A woman beside me, perhaps a collector, perhaps someone with money and wounds, murmured, "She looks like she's waiting." I said, "No." The woman glanced at me. I kept looking at the painting. "She looks like she's deciding." When I turned, Valentina was behind me. Close, of course. "Careful," she said quietly. "People might think you know what you're talking about." Terrible risk. You came. You invited me. I expected you to make me regret it. Still early. Her mouth moved, almost. For a moment the room disappeared. Not fully. Never fully. But enough that I could smell iris and cedar beneath the gallery perfume. Enough that I could see the small strain in her jaw and understand she had been holding herself still all evening. "You put the seventh painting in the main room," I said. "Yes." Seraphine said collectors would ask. They did. And I told them it was about refusing the mythology of availability. That sounds like something people applauded while understanding nothing. It worked. Did you mention Leonora? Her eyes changed. No, not defensive, not cold, just honest. "Not tonight," she said. "That's okay." She looked at me sharply, as if she had expected judgment and did not know what to do with patience. I held her gaze. "Some truths need a door before they need a room," I said. Valentina's face softened in a way that should not have happened in public. Then Seraphine appeared at her shoulder. "There you are," she said. "The Rivellis want to meet you." Valentina did not look away from me immediately. Seraphine noticed. So did I. "I'll find you later," Valentina said. It was the first ordinary sentence she had given me. It hit harder than the elegant ones. "Will you?" "Yes." Then she walked away. For the next hour, I watched her be brilliant. It should have cooled me. It did not. Valentina with collectors was not the same woman from the Red Room, but she was not false either. She knew how to hold a room, how to answer a foolish question without humiliating the person asking it, unless they deserved it. How to make every painting sound less like a thing to own and more like a wound someone had earned the right to approach. At one point, a man in a charcoal suit asked whether the work was anti-male. Valentina looked at him for one perfectly measured second. "No," she said. "It is simply uninterested in making men comfortable. I can see how that might feel similar." The woman beside him laughed into her glass. I almost applauded. Near midnight, the gallery emptied. Slowly. Rich people never leave. They drift. Seraphine was the last to go. She kissed Valentina on both cheeks, then turned to me. "Take care of the room," she said. Not Valentina. The room. Then she left. The gallery door locked behind her. Silence returned. Valentina stood across from me beneath the seventh painting. No crowd now. No glasses. No words people could buy. Just us. "You said the private viewing was not professional," I said. "It wasn't." "Then what was it?" Her hand went to the silver pin. This time, she did not remove it. Not yet. An answer I was not ready to give at 4 in the morning. I walked closer. "How ready are you now?" "Less than I want to be." "At least that's honest." "I am trying. I can tell." Her eyes searched my face. That seemed to hurt her more than accusation would have. "I did not message you," she said. I noticed. I wanted to. I noticed that too. "How?" "Because you didn't." She exhaled, almost laughing, almost not. "You are infuriating." "Professionally?" "No." The word landed softly. The gallery seemed to grow smaller. Valentina turned and walked toward a corridor behind the main wall. "Come." I followed. The corridor led to a storage room, then to a narrow back stairwell, then to a door I had not seen from the gallery. She unlocked it, read on the other side, "Not the studio red room." A smaller space in the gallery had been painted the same dark, dry red. The lighting was low. There were no labels, no price list, no champagne, no collectors. 3 works hung inside: a hand, a mouth, the silver hairpin on a table, and in the center, under a cloth, one covered frame. Valentina stood beside it. "I did not bring the self-portrait," she said. "I didn't expect you to." "I brought yours." My chest tightened. "The drawing?" She nodded. "It belongs to the Red Room." It belongs to you. No, her voice was quiet. That is the problem. She pulled the cloth away. The drawing of me looked different here, more finished than I remembered. She had worked on it after I left. My face was still lifted, eyes caught, camera in my lap. But the line at my mouth had changed, softer, less defensive. Or maybe she had seen something I had not known to hide. You finished it, I said. I tried not to. That sounds familiar. Her fingers rested on the frame. I kept telling myself it was only a study, a record of the night, an exercise in observation. And was it? No. The room felt suddenly too warm. What was it? Valentina looked at me. A way to keep looking when you were gone. I had no clever answer for that. Good. Cleverness would have ruined it. She stepped closer. The public exhibition shows what I was brave enough to hang. And this? This shows what I am still afraid to want. I looked at the drawing, at the way she had drawn my hands on the camera, at the way she had made the lens less shield than offering. Valentina. Yes? What do you want? Her eyes closed for 1 second. When they opened, she was no less afraid. But she was done making fear sound like authority. I want you to stop leaving the room before I ask you to. I looked at her. You never asked me to stay. I am asking now. The silence after that was not empty. It was full. Of the first night, the rain, the hairpin, the painting, the camera, Leonora, Seraphine, the red door, 6 weeks of absence, every almost that had not become a kiss because neither of us had wanted to cheapen the fact that it mattered. I stepped closer, slowly, enough for her to stop me if she wanted. She did not. You should know something, I said. What? I don't stay easily. I know. I travel. I know. I hide behind work. I know. I might disappoint you. You will. I blinked. She almost smiled. You are human, Dahlia. I am not courting a myth. That sounded dangerously healthy. Don't worry, I remain impossible. I laughed softly. The sound changed her face. For the first time, Valentina looked at me without trying to turn the moment into lesson, discipline, composition, or warning. Just looked. Then she lifted her hand and touched the collar of my shirt. Not my skin. Not yet. Just the fabric. I thought, she said, that if I made myself difficult enough, only the wrong people would try. And you did not try to make me easier. No, you stayed difficult too. I have a brand. Her thumb moved once against the fabric. Dahlia. Yes? May I? She did not say, kiss you. She did not need to. The question was there in the space between our faces, in the red light, in the drawing, in the way her hand finally stopped pretending it was only adjusting a line. Yes, I said. Valentina kissed me like a woman who had been disciplined for so long that even surrender had posture. At first, it was careful, almost too careful. Her hand at my collar, mine near her waist, not quite touching until she moved closer and made the decision for both of us. Her mouth was warm, precise, then less precise when I answered. She made one sound, very low, almost angry, as if pleasure had interrupted a thought she had planned to keep. I smiled against her. She pulled back just enough to look offended. What? You're still trying to be composed. I am composed. Of course. Her eyes narrowed. Then she kissed me again. This time, less politely. Still not frantic. Valentina was not a woman who became careless just because she wanted. But the restraint changed. It became chosen instead of defensive. The difference was everything. When we stopped, her forehead rested against mine. The red room was quiet around us. Do you regret it? I asked. No. That came so fast I believed it. Do you? No. Good. Her voice was almost severe again. Almost. I laughed. She closed her eyes, and for a second I thought she might laugh too. Instead, she said, I don't know how to do this without turning it into work. Then don't make it useful. I make everything useful. I noticed. She opened her eyes. What should I make it? I looked at the drawing behind her, at my own face, caught by her hand. True, I said. Valentina's hand moved from my collar to my jaw. She touched me there the way she had touched the canvas earlier, not to possess, to understand the edge. Then she said, Stay tonight. The words were simple, no metaphor, no professional excuse, no red door hiding the request. I should have answered quickly. I did not, because the truth deserved a breath. Not for the exhibition, she said. I know. Not because I asked Vittoria for you. I know. Not because of the room. I looked at her. Then why? Valentina swallowed. Because I am tired of painting the part where wanting stops. That was the moment the public story ended for good. Not with the kiss, not with the red room, with that sentence. Because there are things YouTube can show in a glance, a pause, a door closing, a camera lowering, and there are things that belong somewhere more private. I lifted my hand and touched the charcoal still faintly near her neck. Finally. Valentina's eyes closed. The breath she released seemed to have been waiting 6 weeks. Dahlia, she whispered, I'm here. For now, I could have promised too much. Women like Valentina made that dangerous. They made you want to hand over grand sentences because their hunger deserves ceremony. But I had learned something by then. The truth did not need to be large to be brave. So I said, Tonight. She opened her eyes, then nodded. Tonight is enough. The gallery outside remained empty. The public exhibition slept beyond the wall, full of paintings people would discuss in the morning as if they understood women who did not ask. Inside the red room, Valentina Sorel took the silver hairpin from her hair and set it beneath the drawing of me. not as a weapon, not as a key, this time as proof. The official version would say the exhibition was a success. Collectors praised restraint. Critics wrote about female interiority. Seraphine called the show Valentina's most intimate work to date, which was true only if you had never seen the room after midnight. Vittoria sent me one message the next morning. Did she behave? I looked at the silver hairpin on the table beside my camera. Then at Valentina, asleep on the narrow sofa under the red wall, hair loose, face unguarded, one hand resting near mine. I wrote back, not enough. Then, after a moment, I added, thank God. The public version of Valentina Sorel's exhibition began with 12 paintings and a woman who refused to be understood. The private version began with a red room, a lowered camera, and a voice that finally stopped using control as a language for fear. And weeks later, when the world asked why her next series looked different, why the women in those paintings seemed less trapped and more on the edge of choosing themselves, Valentina only said, I learned to stop painting, the door closed. She never said who opened it. She never had to. I knew. And so did the red room.